Hey everybody, it is the anticipated return of Seer's Isle, and I'm here to play the next chapter and see what happens. It says, when the silence and obscurity finally swallowed me up, the void changes into night. Chapter 5, Rowan. I am in a forest. It would seem the Seers wish to put me to the test, although I travel between the two worlds. I know this place. I remember this night. Am I shown the past because I have no future? It looks like Rowan was one of these people too at one point. I could have told you that, though. Because I'm condemned to wander in this limbo until the end of time. I don't understand what the Seers wish to show me. I move forward between the trees. I see the fear and anguish on my own face. It is a little more than 2 moons since I left the capital. With the rumors that circulated about the temple trying to take control of the city, I thought I could go unnoticed. There's a crackle of breaking twigs. I look around, wary, then hurry on. I jog between the trees under the pale light of the moon. I reach the outskirts of the forest and find myself before a lake. I sit, or rather I let myself drop to the pebbled ground. I laugh. I don't know whether I am in a trap or if I have outrun my pursuers. There's a rustle of wings and the hooting of an owl, then the man comes out from between the trees. He has his hand on the sheath of his sword, ready to draw. His brow is beaded with sweat. This time I pause to absorb the lines of his face. I know I cannot escape. 3 winters have passed since the last time I saw him. 3 winters I have evaded, often barely, his pursuit. Wrinkles have furrowed his face and his temples are graying. His gaze is implacable. Does he still seek justice, or is he simply eaten away by the thirst for vengeance? Rowan Luther? He throws the shackles he is holding to my feet. Villages aren't far behind me. You have nowhere to go, Rowan. I stand carefully smoothing my skirt to gain time, but Luther is not deceptive. Don't be foolish. If you give yourself up, it's the Seers who will judge you for your transgressions. But if you resist, I will be obligated to administer my own justice, as the tradition dictates. I would have liked things to be different this time. I would have liked to have whispered in the ear of the past Rowan that it's useless, that our fate is already sealed. I bend, picked up the irons, and throw them in Luther's face. He bats them away with the back of his hand, then he springs to action, the point of his sword at my throat. Witch. Let me go, I'm innocent. Never. Luther, if you come near me. A gleam flickers between the trees on the left. A torch. I hear a village cry, "She's there!" and then sounds his hunting horn. Other lights erupt from the dark mass of the forest. I am trapped. I turn towards the lake in a moment of panic, searching for an escape route. Luther takes advantage of this opening to strike me on the back of the neck with the flat of his blade. I see myself sag into the beach like a rag doll. The forest disappears. I am back in the cavern. I lurch, disoriented by the abrupt time shift, and fall to my knees. There is a sound of footsteps at some distance above. I turn towards the source of the light. It's Jennifer, flanked by 2 of the Seers who have guided her towards the summit. Her face is blank, empty. I stand up and call to her, but she doesn't look around. The Seers, too, ignore me. Everything changes. I am dazzled by the brilliant blue of a mountain sky. Jennifer is concluding her pact with the Seers. They present her with a fruit from the flame tree, the vessel of their magic in the world of men. It's almost inconceivable that such a small piece, almost a seed, should be enough to become a shaman. Before I have time to react, I'm once again back in the cavern. I am alone in the gloom of the subterranean world. I take a few steps forward before everything changes again. A cheerful spring sun explodes in 1,000 reflected glints on the calm waters of the lake. Behind me, the little mountain village where my uncle and aunt lived. I go up the main street to the thatched house. My uncle, Alistair, is sitting on a chair in the shade out in front, repairing his net. The Rowan who appeared in the frame of the door is still a child. She hasn't been marked by the years of drifting, obligated to always cast a nervous eye over her shoulder. I bend and kiss my uncle on the cheek. He put his work down in his lap and looks at me with a father's fondness. They haven't been able to have children, he and my aunt, and despite the tragedy that marked my arrival in their home, they've always considered me their daughter. Your aunt is preparing blackcurrant tarts for the Beltane vigil this evening. Did you ask her if she needs some help in the kitchen? I smile and look at my feet, bashful. Yes, I asked her. She told me not to stay shut up inside on such a beautiful day. And I promised Gavin that I'd help him gather berries. Alistair raises an eyebrow. Gavin? You know, Luther's son. My uncle sighs. I've told you 1,000 times you shouldn't hang about with that family. The clan's chief don't marry with people like us. And Luther has only one son. He must have his future planned. Even after all these years, these absurd rules still make me angry. Everyone should be able to choose their own destiny, or at least their own partner. That's ridiculous. Alistair sighs again. I know, but there's nothing we can do. Your father was clan chief, if he was still with us. But after what happened with your mother, I am overcome with sadness as I am every time someone speaks of what happens to my parents. They have been dead for 3 years, but the pain of their absence is a needle in the heart that has not gone away. Alistair looks at me kindly, and I force a smile. My uncle and my aunt have welcomed me with open arms, and they do all they can to make me happy. Go on, run along, but get home before nightfall, okay? We mustn't be late for the banquet in the village square. I climb the knoll towards the comlink. I am the first to reach the summit. Gavin shouldn't be long. I sit at the foot of Megalith and daydream as I admire the view of the village, the creek, and the lake. I'm interrupted by a child's voice behind me. Please, Gavin, let me come with you. Father forbade you, Fiona. You know it's dangerous to go into the woods. Gavin comes up the path at a brisk walk. His little sister trots behind him, trying not to get left behind. I wave to him and he waves back. But I'll be good, I promise. And you'll protect me, Gavin, with your bow. Gavin sighs. I don't know what to do, Rowan. She won't listen to me. You tell her that it's dangerous in the woods. Your parents are panicking about nothing. What do you think is going to happen to us? Fiona's face lights up. You see, even Rowan agrees. No, I'm sorry, but if Father finds out she came with us, I'm going to get a thrashing. Fiona stamps her foot. You two are no fun. Sigrid and Flora are decorating the village square for the banquet. You should go and help them. But I wanted to come with you. Fiona moves off towards the village, still grumbling. Gavin turns to me. She's so annoying. You could have helped me reason with her instead of encouraging her. She could have come with us. When I was her age, I wanted to be with the big kids all the time, too. We move along the path which leads towards the forest, on the other side of the Cromlech. It breaks my heart to remember these last moments of calm, of simple happiness before tragedy strikes again and changes my fate forever. I'd like to stop time and stay in this moment a bit longer, maybe even forever. Our wicker baskets slowly fill with raspberries and wild strawberries. I hear a yelp at my feet. Surprised, I take a step backwards and let out a startled cry. It's a bear cub. It looks hurt. Gavin, who is crouched down, gestures me to be quiet. There is the crackling of breaking wood. Then a muffled growl nearby in the bushes. Behind me I hear a high-pitched scream. I turn around. It's Fiona, who has followed us and whose head, topped with a halo of blonde curls, peeks from behind a tree trunk. I signal her to hide. When I turn back to Gavin, I see he has drawn his bow and is preparing to loose an arrow into the general direction of the growling. Before I have time to stop him, the arrow has flown. There's a furious howl. The bear cub yaps wildly. I am paralyzed with fear. The bear charges. A great swipe of its claws rip out Gavin's throat and he falls to the ground. Fudge. The predator drops onto his chest. Blood gurgles through the open wound. Gavin throws me one last disbelieving look when his soul leaves his eyes, and he is nothing more than a motionless puppet. The bear turns her attention to me and lets out a long growl. Instinctively, I raise a hand towards the beast and take a step forward. She watches me with surprise. I take another step forward, trying not to let myself succumb to fear. The beast ambles towards me, sniffs my hand, and looks at me sadly. The cub lets out a plaintive yelp. The great predator turns to her offspring, picks him up in her mouth, and disappears slowly into the ferns. Everything is quiet again. Fiona had witnessed the scene, is terror-stricken. I open my mouth to say something to comfort her perhaps, but she turns and runs towards the village. I let myself fall to the ground and burst into tears. Suddenly, I am once more in the gloom of the cave. I am alone. I think I have shaken off the Seers. I grope my way across the uneven ground until I reach a natural cavern. Duncan is in the center, his sword in his hand. He slashes the air with great movements of his arm as if he was fighting an invisible enemy. I approach him carefully. He's completely lost in his vision, insensible to my presence. Flakes of snow begin to fall around us. The cavern disappears, replaced by a great dark room. Duncan and a large brown bearded man are fighting. Duncan looks exhausted. He drops to his knees. Some wolves have entered the room and are surrounding the two fighters. Duncan lifts his gaze to the man. His face is full of sadness and resignation, as if he knew his adversary could not have resolved himself to hurt him. The man lifts his axe. I run to stop him, but it is too late. Duncan collapses to the ground of the cavern, inanimate. I approach him. His face is pallid and he's not breathing. I stay kneeling beside him, hoping that he will wake up and then come back to life. I notice a glow from the corner of my eye near the entry I had taken. Torches. I run to hide behind a cluster of stalagmites. A procession of seers, accompanied by the White Hart, enter the cavern and walk silently to Duncan's body. They envelop the body in a large sheet and load it onto the heart and leave. I leave the cavern by another exit. The darkness is also almost complete, but I feel the tunnels sloping beneath my feet as I advance. Then everything changes again. It is morning. My mind is fuddled as if I was exhausted and struggling against sleep. I hear the regular sound of hooves on the road. My hands are tied to the pommel of the saddle. There's another horse in front of me, ridden by Luther. We advance at a light trot. The road bends, and at the end of the long bend we come out of the wood. The salt smell hits my nostrils. The road winds down to the port, and after the iridescent immensity of the ocean, which reflects in the first rays of sunshine. Luther stops our horses to admire the vista, then turns to me. Ah, you're awake. He tugs on the tether to bring my horse alongside him and pulls a goatskin flask from his satchel. He makes me drink. The liquid is bitter and salty. My head is spinning. We're almost there. You're lucky the boat for the initiation leaves tomorrow. You won't have to languish in a cell too long. I scowl at him. He smiles at me. Oh, don't make that face, Rowan. You're responsible for the death of my son. You should thank me for not killing you as the law demands. I stay silent, impassive. What's the point? Luther took this decision a long time ago. It's not now, when he finally taken me prisoner, that I managed to convince him of anything. He gives me a steely-eyed stare. After so many years chasing you, I don't know what to think anymore. Either you are responsible for the death of my son, or you saved my daughter from certain death. That's why I've decided to let the Seers judge you. I lose consciousness. I'm woken by the sound of waves. I'm on a boat. Someone is bent over me. Jennifer, she's coming around. My head is spinning. A group of strangers is staring at me curiously. I get up. The island stretches before us. We see the beach with its wrecks and pale rocky cliffs. Further away in the mist, the summit is like a tooth tearing at the sky. We're nearing a beach. There, do you see it? There's an undercurrent. If we had put in head-on, we won't have time to maneuver and avoid the reefs. I see it, but if we keep the sail full with the sea breeze, we should be fine, right? We're losing speed. If we don't do something, we'll drift towards the cliffs before we reach the shore. Listen, I don't want to be a killjoy, but have you seen those big black clouds? The rain begins to fall. This storm doesn't feel natural. They turn to look at Arlen. You're the sailor. What do we do? Well, I'm not sure. Whatever we do, we risk founding on a reef or getting swept out to sea. If there's a collision, I'm not sure the boat can take it. It would be disastrous. The rain pours down and the thunder rumbles. The sea becomes more and more troubled. Ironically, this is pretty much the beginning of the game, except she wasn't there. Wait. The other passengers turn towards me, startled. If we head west, avoiding the reefs, we should be able to reach the beach without too much difficulty. Arlen, what do you think? There's no harm in trying. The rain pours down. Duncan is at the tiller and maneuvers the boat according to my instructions. Brandon is at the prow, peering nervously at the reefs. I would too. It looks like it's working. There's a loud cracking sound. The sail is torn. Oh man, that sucks. I turn to Duncan. Stay on course, it's going to be okay. Everyone holds their breaths. The rain drums on the deck, but the boat seems to be drifting in the right direction. The boat gently slows and lands softly on the sand. Eric throws me a black look. I jump overboard. The moment they feel that my feet touch the sand, everything changes. I am once again in the cavern, and at the end of the tunnel I can finally see the light of day. I hurry to the way out, afraid of being once more snatched by the future or the past. I emerge on a high plateau. A few snowflakes float in the frosty air. The summit of the mountain, which can be seen through the mist, has never been so near. I feel a hand on my shoulder. Well, that was a confusing chapter. And I guess next time we'll have to see what chapter 6 brings us. And if Rowan really is lost, and everybody on the island really is lost. But, you know the drill. Leave a like, leave a comment, and I will see you in chapter 6.